Hello and welcome to Macstaff Live. Wherever you're listening to us today, you're very welcome. And you join me, host Martin Crowson, and the Managing Director of Macstaff, Anthony McCormack. Hi, Ant. How are you?
Hi. Yeah, great. Thanks, Martin. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. We're here today less than 48 hours after the spring budget delivered by Chancellor Jeremy Hunt. And we thought it'd be a really good time to pop on and pick Ant's brains to see if the situation has improved regarding the skills shortages, which has hit the UK economy extremely hard over the last 12 months and affected large parts of the economy. Just before we get into that, if you're not already a subscriber on Macstaff's YouTube channel, please hit that subscribe button. The notification bell will also give you some we'll also tell you when we're on again in the future, and new videos have been uploaded, and there's loads of videos on the YouTube channel if you'd like to check them out about recruitment and various things that have affected recruitment over the last 12 months. So please check that out afterwards. We're also live on LinkedIn today, so welcome if you're joining us on there, and let's crack on. And straight to it, has the government done enough to help the chronic shortages of staff and skill shortages in the country? Over to you, Anthony.
Yeah, well, that's been the a major issue in the recruitment and employment market, hasn't it? I think over a number of years now, and it's just kind of bubbled away in the background of people saying it's hard to find good staff, and recruitment's a challenge and everything like that. But to paint the backdrop on this, it's like as the economy in the UK and globally warmed up after the shutdowns and lockdowns of COVID, it became clear that the labour pool had shrunk, and it's like where are all the people? So the problem could be kind of ignored or kicked down the road until we hit the crisis of pubs are closed half the week through staff shortages, aren't they? Literally, planes can't take off. We've got food rotting in the fields that that farmers can't get the labour force to pick, and it's been bumped up the priority list. And this spring budget has been very much about what's happened to these these workers, and what can we do to get them kind of back into the employment market.
Before the budget came along this week, it was that hospitality industry that has been particularly hard, severely affected by these shortages, hasn't it? Those sort of industries.
Yeah, that's been one of the key ones for sure. Of chefs, to pick a skilled worker leaving the industry, when the pubs and restaurants closed, and just kind of not rejoining. They're doing perhaps an easier, better paid job elsewhere. It's the same with care workers and truck drivers and all sorts. So it's really across the board, and there's a few factors at play, really, like in terms of that, where's everybody disappeared to. There's workers that have gone back into Europe, that perhaps went back to home countries during COVID. There's people that are literally sick, or even that kind of passed away during the pandemic. We've got the over 50s, which we're going to come back to these, talking about the way that they're specifically targeted in the budget. But a whole bunch of those reevaluated, I guess, their work-life balance and life choices, and elected just not to go back into the workforce. They're kind of economically inactive. And I'm sure there was another category as well.
Whilst you're looking for that, Anthony, let me just read a quote from Kate Shoesmith, who's the Deputy CEO of REC.
Sure, thanks.
Kate said this before the budget this week. She said the economy stands to lose up to £39 billion in GDP every year from 2024, unless business and government act now. Many businesses are doing what they can, but the spring budget is the ideal opportunity to find a way forward together. The Chancellor must put people issues first, with innovative and refreshed policies on skills and tackling economic activity, and from immigration to childcare. So in light of that quote from Kate, how did Jeremy Hunt do?
Well, good to a certain extent, I think. A C plus, shall we say?
Very generous.
I know it's easy to criticize, isn't it? And I will kind of pick some holes in. I think the kind of the philosophy and the practicality of some of the things that have been suggested. And there's areas where we're coming up short compared to other countries, and certainly against where we want to be, etc. But I'm grateful for where we are, really. It's a difficult and complicated job, obviously, running the country and its finances. You only have to cast your mind back a few months to the Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng.
Oh, yes.
It was a car crash, wasn't it? So, I mean, I think that there is kind of stability. There's a plan which, arguably is working, and that's giving businesses and, the banking and finance industry, a lot more certainty about the UK, and that will kind of help us, to attract investment and to rebuild, basically. So, they've talked about headline things of halving inflation, and it's due to go from over 10% to less than 3% during this year, which was the most major enemy, really, inflation, whilst also reducing debt and growing the economy. It's apparently going to just avoid a technical recession, isn't it? And we might bump along at the 0.2% growth or something like that. But we're definitely have gone from a budget for stability to one for growth. So I'm impressed about that. And then in terms of the skills shortages, and the people staying in education was the last category that was kind of escaping me earlier. But a lot of people have chosen to, do a master's or do that next level of education, instead of, quickly re-entering the workforce at a time which was kind of arguably kind of not the best for employment choices. But they've done some good things. They've, targeted those over 50s with pension reform, haven't they? Which was, picked up some bad press as well, because it was kind of billed as something for the doctors, wasn't it? To stop like highly paid doctors from retiring by allowing them to increase their pension contributions from 40 to 60k a year tax free, and to remove the lifetime limit of 1.8 million, I think it was. So that didn't create a lot of sympathy, did it? Tax breaks for like the people at the top, while the people at the bottom are kind of still struggling. But there was other things there as well for childcare, wasn't there, and to help with that. So that was a really positive step. And the up to 30 hours free, plugging the gap between 9 months old and the 3 to 4 year olds that are already covered. But that is something which is going to, be a year or even 2 years for certain ages to implement. But, nonetheless, positive step. There's returnerships for those over 50s as well. So it's like a rebrand of the traditional apprenticeship, but fast tracked to get people to maybe, retrain for another sector, which is all well and good. That sounds positive, and we'll target those kind of hospitality occupations, maybe things like that you're talking about. But if they're these over 50s that have decided I can afford to not work, then is that really going to kind of pull them back in? I'm not so sure. And what else have they done? Remove some barriers to re-entering work for people on benefits and things like that. So actually, on a related note, pay the childcare in advance for people who want to go from not working into working, or increasing their hours. So that's good. And various grants for people with disabilities to help them to job search and to make arrangements to get back into the workforce, and up to $4,000, I think it was, for musculoskeletal things or mental health concerns as well, to get those addressed and to kind of get people back in the seat. So it's all really good, but it kind of begs the question as well of where are the people for some of these solutions, like the childcare one, going to actually come from? If we already can't find enough childminders and teachers and care workers, then there's no magic wand, is there? Where are they going to come from?
No, and I guess before we get onto the what wasn't in the budget that could have helped, I suppose we speak about the issues there and building confidence back within the economy and within the recruitment industry. Just tell us quickly how important that is, because as we touched on earlier, the Truss and Kwarteng 30 days hammered people's confidence and hammered business confidence, and people step back, and there's almost this fear of sort of doing anything, and people think, well, let's just wait and happen here. We'll see what happens. So there's no movement in the economy, there's no movement in recruitment. How important is it to the recruitment industry that confidence within the UK's economy gets back?
Yeah, it's crucial actually, and I'm pleased to say the market's reacted, I think, pretty well to the budget. The IMF and the OBR are both saying that that we're on the right track, and there is an aspect of it will get worse before it gets better. There is still that kind of recessionary dip, although avoiding a technical recession, but it's much shallower, it's much shorter than the doom and gloom mongers were saying back end of 22, and that allows companies to crack on with their plans, to not put everything on hold, just have that kind of phased, gentle growth type approach. So in terms of recruitment, there's two reasons why it's kind of really important to have the confidence that one side is on the company sides, that they know there's going to be demand and that there's going to be support and investment, and it's worthwhile pursuing growth, that's a good strategy, and even that these skills shortages and worker issues might be gradually solved as well. So it allows them to be kind of future focused. And then obviously on the candidate side as well, especially for the recruitment market, as opposed to the employment market, we don't want people too scared to move jobs, or thinking like, oh, I'll hold off until there's more choice, or there's more certainty. Having people move jobs and backfilling the old jobs and things like that is what keeps the recruitment industry ticking over. And I think recruiters sometimes pick up a lot of bad press on social media and things like that, but we can hold our head up high that we're in an industry which makes a real difference, and the REC have kind of been doing a good job kind of campaigning in this regard, that it's a 40 billion pound industry a year, and we're valuable to the economy, and of great assistance to companies who are trying to solve the key problem of how do I get the right people to grow my business and achieve my objectives.
There's some astonishing figures in that set, wasn't there, about just how much money is involved in the recruitment industry. But let's just go back to what you started talking about there, and that was what was not in the budget, and the problems that could emerge from what was delivered, or in essence what wasn't delivered.
Yeah, so if I was going to be critical, I guess, and I can understand it kind of tactically and politically, it's like they've gone after the low-hanging fruit, whatever's a short-term fix. It's the last roll of the dice, really, in terms of impacting the situation before the next election, isn't it? So it's almost like I think they've kind of focused on the things that can be fixed within a year, rather than the systemic things that are going to take a longer time to fix. So we've done the short-term things of trying to mop up this pool of economically inactive labor, which we're hoping to get back into the workforce by carrot or by stick. And there was some stick there, wasn't there, as well, for lots more requirements or punishments, if for want of a better word, for people who are just not looking for a job.
It was punishments, basically, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that's kind of not ideal, really. I don't think that's going to kind of fix the problem, but kind of moving on past that one, I guess. We've done some of the short-term things. You might box as the medium-term things as trying to enhance or fix the immigration system and visas and permits and things like that, because they've not really kind of touched much on that at all. There's been a couple of things added to, and I'll look it up, the Migration Advisory Committee, MAC, has added a few things to the shortage occupation list, or SOL. So there's some jobs in construction and in hospitality that have been added to the in short supply list, so it's easier for people to get a visa. But overall, that's not been covered in the budget, and we're not going to solve the situation of being millions of people short, and there's over 1 million job vacancies as we speak now, without targeted immigration. And that's like a political or philosophical thing as well, because having lived in Canada for 10 years, immigration is seen as a positive thing. That's the key to competitive advantage for a country in a global economy, whereas we're fighting for the best talent. And then as companies as well, as companies try and compete in a global market, they need the best people to be and have competitive advantage. So the immigration thing's not sorted. And then on the longer term, that's more the industrial strategy, the workforce planning and upskilling, because we're not going to find a new, or we're not going to home grow like a doctor or an architect, in a year, are we? That's like a 6, 7, 8, 10-year thing. But we need to be investing in some of these key areas so that we can be self-sufficient in terms of our talent. There has been some movements in terms of the other E's. There was 4 E's, wasn't there? Enterprise, employment, education, and everywhere. Those were the kind of the 4 pillars, I guess, of the Jeremy Hunt budget. But in terms of the enterprise part, they have done some investment in some of the more longer term issues of investing in the life sciences industry. They picked the nuclear industry and renewable energy. So that will in turn create jobs that we can hopefully plug people into. But the whole system's kind of, I don't want to say broken, but it's clunky and needs kind of joining together better, I think.
It seems like it's something that can't be fixed within 12 to 18 months as well. And it seems like, the things you're just talking about there are such long-term goals. I mean, can we realistically expect that a skills shortages that needs fixing ASAP can be fixed by schemes being introduced to try and get younger people skilled quicker to do the jobs we need filling, or older people to stop being retired to come back into the workforce to fill the skills we need filling, against the backdrop of an immigration policy which is a bit like a hot potato and so politicized, it's difficult to know when that can be fixed as well. Do you feel the same way? It's sort of like these things need to be done, but there's no chance they're going to get done quick enough to solve what we're addressing in today's broadcast.
Exactly, yeah, and I'm glad in a way that I'm not in charge. It's like don't blame the players, blame the game, sort of thing, isn't it? But I think that they have made positive steps. That they've targeted some key priorities, and there is a good argument for starting to tick off the things that you can fix a little bit more quickly. But yeah.
What about any benefits, Anthony, from Brexit? Was there anything from Brexit that you noticed within the budget that they couldn't have done unless that had happened?
Yeah, that's a good point. So, yes and no. I think that the Conservative government are conscious now of people's kind of dissatisfaction with the end result of Brexit, and it's like you see all the memes of what specific benefits have you seen from Brexit? Like, I'll wait. And it's like tumbleweed. So it kind of amusing, really. But they had launched the Brexit pubs guarantee, hadn't they? Did you see that one?
Yes, yeah.
So they've obviously got their avatar and kind of stereotype what the Brexit voter is and what they want, I think. And here's me sitting here in my Union Jack jumper. But they've done tax relief on draft beer, haven't they, to make sure that it's kind of competitive against the supermarkets. And that's just a visible or a soundbite demonstration of something that we can do independent, I guess, of EU regulations. One of the other things that was a bit more kind of serious and again, a growth strategy and focusing on what we're kind of really good at as a country was about the life sciences and the vaccine stuff, wasn't it? Because we've got the kind of world-regarded MHRA for approving new medicines, haven't we? Vaccines that kind of did really well, fast-tracking for the obviously the Oxford AstraZeneca kind of vaccine in the pandemic. And they've made some changes to allow us to, I think they were saying, automatically approve medicines or vaccines that have been approved by other reputable, national approval agencies. So, just to really get the jump on, I guess, new products that are coming into the market. And they made some good investments in terms of AI as well. I saw, including a £1 million prize for people who are kind of making breakthroughs in that area. And cheeky. I don't know the criteria, but nuclear has been just rebranded, hasn't it? It's
Yeah,
now
everything's okay now with nuclear.
yeah, so that's a sustainable kind of energy technology. So yes and no. It's like we're not using a kind of a fossil fuel resource that's going to run out, but there's a limit to the amount of nuclear waste that you can cram underground, isn't there, forever?
Yeah, we won't talk about that at the minute.
Yeah, so we can't talk. Yeah, can't solve every forever program, but yeah, problem. But yeah, I think there's been some good strides forward, and it's being billed as prosperity with purpose, and I think the mood's changed actually in the market, and that people are positive and looking forward, and it's like, oh, such a relief that the R word that we've been talking about in a few of these kind of previous broadcasts is perhaps not gonna happen.
And we did a broadcast 3 or 4 months ago, and at a time where recession looked almost inevitable. So for the fact that that has never come across is obviously a positive, and we need to get out of here soon. So it'd be quite a pertinent time to ask you, as hard as it may be, to sum up what changes you might be seeing over the next 6 months in really the recruitment industry, with specific focus on the title of our chat today, and that's the skill shortages.
Yeah, so I think although there's kind of tinkering and little incentives and things like that, like the 600 quids for childminders to kind of join that industry, I think it's going to be difficult. I think we are going to be skills short. There's going to continue to be more vacancies than there is people to fill them. So I think that until such time as we fix the ideally the immigration piece, and having a slick kind of visa and permit system that actually works, and ideally then fixing the next bit of our own kind of education and skills and education piece, that it's gonna continue for the time being. And that's good news in a way for candidates that we work with, in terms of people are still in demand. There's lots of jobs to go out there. There's upwards pressure in terms of wages and things like that. There's opportunity out there for people. Obviously, on the flip side of that, for clients, it is going to be challenging to find the right people, and it's a competitive market, and employers have got to get their employer value proposition right, and get the candidate experience right in terms of the way that they're handling their recruitment, in terms of being able to attract people away from their competitors. But from a country and an economic point of view, it's just robbing Peter to pay Paul, isn't it? We need to add in to the ideally professional, skilled and technical, these high paid, high skilled occupations that are being talked about in order to move forward. So whilst individuals might benefit from the fact that there's a skills shortage, the bigger picture is that your company and your country won't. It's literally holding back the economic growth and the prosperity, that we haven't got the people to fill the jobs. And it's not going to be fixed before the next election, or certainly not in today's broadcast, I don't think, Mark.
I think that's a very good time to call it a day there, and it's fascinating to hear your thoughts
we're ahead
on what's coming up over the next 6 months. And thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. If you've watched us on LinkedIn, I hope you enjoyed it. If you've watched us on YouTube, please subscribe to the Macstaff YouTube channel for information about future broadcasts. You can find out more information about Anthony and the Macstaff business at macstaff.co.uk. We're also on Twitter. So that just leaves me, Martin Crosey, enough time to say once again, and thank you very much for joining us today. Thanks for your time and your insight.
You're welcome. That's some tough questions there, but we'll keep thinking and keep asking them, and we'll see you next time.
You did a great job. We'll get you to bring a little red suitcase next year.
Yeah.
And folks, please check out the rest of the content we've got on the Macstaff YouTube channel. There's loads of stuff, loads of discussions there regarding the recruitment industry from both the client and candidate perspective. So please have a look at those if you've got time. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you've got any questions for Anthony, please leave a comment either in the box below on YouTube or on the LinkedIn page, and we'll catch up with you soon. Thanks very much for joining us. Goodbye.